Hello my beautiful butterflies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beverley and it is lovely to see you today. In this video we're going to be talking about the things that I wish I knew before I became a witch. So grab that cup of tea, let's get to it. This is a video that I've wanted to do for a little while. There are things that you learn as you're practicing for a little while that you probably don't realise when you start out. And I thought this would be a fun way of just sharing the things that I've noticed about witchcraft and about my own practice as I've gone along. So if you enjoy content like this, don't forget if you're new here, you can click the subscribe button to become part of the butterfly family. We would absolutely love to have you. Leave me a comment and a cheeky like, but let's get to it, shall we? So the first thing is that you don't need to be a particular kind of witch. Now this is something that's become really popular among like the BuzzFeed quiz kind of things that you can do, like I am a such and such a witch. And some people do have a particular name for their practice, aka I am a tarot witch. They are people who just do tarot, they don't do spells and things like that, they just do tarot. There's some people who just deal with crystals, there are some people who just deal with herbs, and so they can give themselves a little title like that. But as I've come along in my practice, I've come to realise that actually witches, as you get further along, you start to realise that you use a bit of everything in your practice. And if you're making your practice and your witchcraft into part of your everyday, then you tend to use just a little bit of everything. Like I'm wearing a crystal and I've never really bothered with crystals. I did when I first started, but crystals aren't really a part of my practice, but I do enjoy wearing them. I just choose them with my intuition and they just come with me for the day. So it's not always necessary to have something that you are straight down the line, this is what kind of witch I am. You can just be a witch. So just remember that you don't need to give yourself a title, especially when you're starting out. You don't even have to say I'm a baby witch or a beginner witch, but you don't have to give yourself a title, and I think that's really important to remember, that you can just be a witch. That's more than enough. The next thing is to research everything you see and read. So this I learned very early on in my practice because I started watching a lot of YouTube witches, and I would kind of look at some of these witches and be like, I want to be like that person, so I've got to do it their way, I've got to do it this way. But what you need to do is actually, if you see somebody say something in a video, if you see somebody write something in a blog post or say something on Instagram, just double check it, because there are people who pretend to be a witch just for clout. There are people who do it nowadays just to get followers on TikTok, or people following them on Instagram or YouTube, and they're not actually practicing witches. I know, it's sad but true, and people like that can steer new witches in the wrong direction sometimes, and that can be quite hard to wrap your head around. I know I found it very difficult to understand why people would do that, but I have come to realise that that is true, and sometimes the things that we see on YouTube might not be true, the things we see on Instagram might not be true, but also the things that we're seeing can be quite American based. And I'm an English witch, and sometimes the names for herbs and the names for flowers and the magical uses for certain things and the folklore behind them are completely different, because that witch is from a different country to here. So it's always useful to just double check everything you're seeing and hearing, making sure that it fits into your practice before you start to strong arm something that you've seen just because it looks cool or it feels good to see somebody with a really curated picture. But remember, most of the time these pictures, these beautiful Instagram posts, these very curated videos aren't in reality of that person's practice. So you have to be very mindful of that and really start to curate your own practice by doing your research. Really, really important. The next thing I wish I knew is that you don't have to have a really fancy grimoire. I know when I started out I was like, I can't write in like fancy calligraphy. I'm not very good at being tidy and neat. I like to have everything separate. Like I like a different book for everything that I'm interested in. How am I going to do this fancy grimoire that we see people having? The truth is you don't need that. My main grimoire, which has you know, my general knowledge in, is just a big binder where I can take stuff out and move it around. It's really, really great to do it in a binder. And I use these notebooks. I will leave a link to them down below. I can't remember what they're called, paper crafts or something like that. There'll be links down below to everything, but basically they're really great for making notes because they look fancy on the shelf, but when you take them out, they're not that fancy. They're just a normal line notebook. I really love them so much, and I use them a lot in my own personal practice. Definitely highly recommend them. And I have done a video of me putting my binder together, I think. So if I did, I'm sure I did. Oh, my brain's making me doubt myself. But if I did, I will definitely leave a link down below in the description so you can check that out. But yeah, you don't need to have this fancy book that looks like it was in Hocus Pocus or something. Back in the day, books were just notebooks. People would stick bits of plant in there. People would scribble and spill their coffee on them. Like, they're supposed to be working things that you actually use, not just a pretty thing that you put on the shelf and never refer to. They're supposed to be used. And so your grimoire really should be something that is nice looking, but doesn't have to be. It can just be a simple notebook or an app on your phone. So yeah, you don't have to be fancy with it. The next thing I wish I knew was that most things that I need in my practice, I can thrift. I got muddled up a lot with this when I first started to practice because I started posting on Instagram about it. And what you find when you post anything to do with witchcraft on your Instagram, suddenly 5 million shops add you because they want you to buy their goods, and I don't blame them for that. You know, if you've got your small business that you're trying to flourish and grow, you definitely want to get more people involved and get more people seeing it. The problem is that a lot of occult things cost a lot of money, from crystals to cauldrons to whatever. They can be costly. Most of my witchcraft goods that I use on the daily, from my cauldron to the goblets I use to give offerings to my gods, are thrifted. I find them all when I go to charity shops and secondhand. It's important to remember that you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to be rich. You can have just a little tin with 3 candles in and you are more than ready to go and practice witchcraft, because the magic is you, not the tools that you use. They just help you get in the mood and help your practice a little bit, but the power actually comes from you. You could be a sigil witch and just do all your magic by drawing and painting sigils, and there is plenty of ways to create magic, and you can do it all without spending lots and lots of money in these shops and buying lots of crystals and things. Yes, they help, but a lot of the time you kind of fall into this trap of thinking you need more. We live in a very capitalist, materialistic world, but we're trying to step away from that. You know, we're witches. We want to look after the world. We want to buy things that we really need, and most of the time we can thrift it. So I'm so glad that I discovered that fact. And the last thing was really important lesson to learn, but that was that I don't have to follow anybody else's path. And I am a people pleaser. I come from a background of people pleasers, and I think it is so easy to fall into the trap of I need to fit in, I need to shoehorn my way in. And especially sometimes as a content creator here and on Instagram, places like that, I felt a little bit like I had to practice in a certain way and do videos in a certain way so people like them more. But the truth is that I'm Beverley and I'm on my own path, and so following other people is just not gonna give me what I need to get out of this lifetime. It just isn't. I am my own person, and I'm not gonna get what I need by following somebody else. And I think it's important not to copy other people's spells. It's important not to try and do things the way other people do them just because you think, if I don't do it like this, I'm not a real witch. Yes, we're here to learn from one another. That's why you're watching this video. That's why you're reading books. That's why you're doing things. But still, you are your own brilliant, beautiful, shining individual person. And so it's it's really important to just remember that. And your witchcraft practice probably looks completely miles away from my witchcraft practice. And that's a good thing, because you're not me and I'm not you. So I wish I'd known that, because to begin with, I was really trying to follow everybody else and see what everyone else was doing and try and fit in. So I deserved that title of witch. But it's that imposter syndrome, it's that people pleasing that is kind of drilled into us. That's gonna stunt you as a witch. It's not gonna help you flourish and be the best person that you can be, because you're not them, you're you, and that's who you're supposed to be. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to head down below and leave it a cheeky little like, so I know that you enjoyed it and I can bring more like this to the channel in future. I love sharing my journey and the way I'm moving forward in my practice and growing as a woman. It's so inspiring to me to see other witches and their paths. So I love sharing mine with you, and so if you would like to see more, definitely let me know. Also leave me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts and feelings were, the things that you wish you'd known when you started your witchcraft practice, and also let me know if any of these really rang true for you. Leave me a comment, because I always love talking to you, I really do. And last but certainly not least, if you like my content and you like my face, don't forget to head down below, leave this comment, a subscribe, ring that little bell so you always know when I upload. I'm usually here Mondays and Fridays. My health permitting, I always do my very best to be here with you every week, twice a week. I hope you have a lovely week. Take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.